Right, let's get into the first subject matter, which is the Dave Allen, Johnny Fisher fight. Johnny Fisher is someone that you have an association with. Are you a bit of a Bok, Sam, by the way? You're associated with Jack Catterall, you're associated with Johnny Fisher. They're both on losing runs right now.
Losing runs?
I'm joking. Look, the fight itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was in the camp that I thought that Johnny Fisher would get the job done, not because I had any denigration of Dave, but I felt that the nature of the first fight was so unjust, not to the excitable level that perhaps Spencer and Gareth went on, which I understood at the time because commentary comes with emotion.
Yeah, of course.
I felt it was unjust, and I thought if he was going to get it done, he would have got it done on the first night.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty significant performance from Dave, wasn't it?
Yeah, and listen, Dave did what he had to do, and Dave prepared great. I know, so let's say I've got a very close relationship with Jamie Moore, but Johnny made it easy for Dave in there. The game plan was all wrong, in my opinion. The approach to the fight was not right.
Have you spoken to him since the fight?
Yeah, I spoke to Johnny yesterday.
But he
knows that.
I saw him speak about the fact that he talked about that he was fighting on the back foot. And he should have brought it more.
Simon, I've not been in the ring like Spencer, and he will give a more qualified opinion for me. But what I am qualified to give you an opinion on is Johnny Fisher. Now, Johnny Fisher came to America to be Joe Joyce's lead sparring partner for Daniel Dubois when Joe Joyce was firing on all cylinders, when people were saying he's going to be the heir to the throne. Yep. Johnny Fisher was the lead sparring partner. His aggression. Johnny is I'm not saying Johnny's going to be a world champion, no one ever did. But Johnny is an instinctive pressure fighter. And when you take that away from him, it's his bare bones. Yeah, you can't teach an instinctive an instinctive pressure fighter to fight like a Vladimir Klitschko. He's never going to be that guy.
Isn't it, that you take away the main advantage. It's a bit like Anthony Joshua fighting Usyk in the first fight, fighting a fight that ultimately suited Usyk.
100%.
I mean, Spence, you were pretty rigid in the face of observations that have been detrimental to you from the Fisher family, about what you said in the first fight. But most of the orthodoxy was leading towards Johnny. You were right in this instance. Good call, mate.
Absolutely. Listen, I just thought that Dave had more to his game. You know, they're at different stages of their careers, and Dave Allen has that experience, and he'd done it from the opening bell. Even though Johnny Fisher started this fight very well, Dave Allen was walking him down. He was making Johnny Fisher work in fifth gear right from the opening bell, really, and he was only in second gear, so it was always going his way. Even if he lost the first couple of rounds or the first few rounds, it was always going his way, and you know, ultimately he got to him. I mean, terrible tactics from Johnny Fisher. You're talking about game plans. You go, well, he's giving Dave Allen the space, but he's leaning back on his back foot with his left hand held high, wide open to the right hand over the top, which is Dave Allen's best shot. You know, he used that shot in the first fight. He landed it, a couple of times previous to the fifth round, and then he got him in the fifth round when he went over for the first time, and then the ending was as it was. I mean, shot selection was brilliant, and I think there was no defence there from Johnny Fisher. I think, we talk about game plans and getting the game plan wrong, but we also got to talk about levels. And right now, I think that it just highlighted that Dave Allen, it was at a different level to Johnny Fisher.
Have you heard, I mean, ultimately a lot of noise, and I think silly noise, really, that created a narrative that really wasn't there. You're a big fan of Johnny Fisher's, and I think you were a big supporter of his. And you and Gareth were very emotive about your reaction. But to have got the backlash that you got from Johnny's father, I felt was a bit unnecessary. Have you had any contact with the Fisher family post the fight? No,
I've not had any contact since then, really. You know, like you say, the relationship was good with them. And what we must understand in this business is that the boxers are very sensitive. The fathers are obviously going to be very sensitive as well, but this is an opinion. It's not a personal attack. That's what I felt at the time. And as you said, Simon, when you're commentating, you're emotionally involved. You're there, you're wrapped up. Let's talk about Dave Allen as well, who's a lovely kid. You know, he's had a tough time, and he's come back, you know, from tough times as well. So there's two in this fight.
Just to put a sort of tin lid on this subject matter, I mean, I think that people are entitled to their opinions. I think that people are entitled to their reactions. I think their reaction is extreme. I've got children. I know I'll defend mine. When you look at the commentary that you and Gareth did, would you do it slightly differently second time round?
No, I'm an emotional guy, and I think I was emotionally involved. And I think that, you know, I said this is what I said in the commentary, which they heard as well, but chose to ignore. I said, this is not a personal attack on the Fisher family, who I think are very, you know, I love what they stand for, you know, what they built up, the brand that they built. But this was a personal attack on the judges. And I would still be the same. I thought it was diabolical, and I stand by that.
Do you think you get to the stick to some extent, right? Because when I say things, right, they'll try and marginalise me. You don't know nothing. You haven't been in you know, right? But when we made observations about Conor Benn, right, both of us made observations about Conor Benn, neither one wanting him to be guilty. They went for you, right? We've made observations about Johnny Fisher. Yours was more specific on that instance, but they went for you. Is it because you're a former fighter and it's like this sacrosanct view that you don't speak out of school, like footballers don't speak about what happens in dressing room or criticise one another? Is it because of that dynamic?
I think possibly, yeah. And I think that it's one of those where, you know, you build up relationships with fighters, and I built up a good relationship with Conor Benn and his father. Absolutely. So, but what I'm saying is, if the situation arises like it did with Conor Benn and the 2 failed drugs tests, I'm going to call it out. Yeah. Because we've built up a friendship, you know, I go like, I know what I stand for as well, and I'm not all of a sudden going to go, oh, well, you're my mate, so I'm not going to call it out.
It's important to be objective,
that's what I
right?
do. Absolutely.
Except, of course, when you're talking about Anthony Joshua. Do we? There's no case here, is there, for a trilogy at this moment in time between Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen? This is done and dusted now, isn't it?
In my opinion, right, Johnny needs to go away and be a prospect, because Johnny, yes, although the opponents have been, listen, they've not been world beaters in front of him, Johnny's never really been able to be a prospect where he's on
because
these...
the Babbage fight catapulted.
Not just that, Simon. Yeah. From the minute he turned pro, right, Johnny, and I've got no, I don't work for Johnny Fisher. I haven't for since after the first fight. But I'm saying to Johnny's defence, he's been thrown in with all these people, which is a privilege, by the way. It's a massive...
Why aren't you working with Johnny Fisher anymore?
It just is what it is. It's life, isn't it? I had my opinions.
Not much of an answer,
but I had my opinions about the first fight.
Did you fall out with them?
No, I have not fallen out with anybody. Simon, right hand to God.
But to be fair, you know, when you're saying, like, you know, Johnny, you know, needs to go back to being a prospect now.
Yeah.
Dave Allen, at that stage of his career, was the right step.
Yeah.
You know, so you're talking about being a prospect or whatever. You go, they were developing him very nicely. And he's gone through those fighters and he's beat Alan Babbage. And when he boxed Dave Allen the first time, he was a huge favourite in there.
Yeah, nobody
thought. It's not about him going back to be a prospect. I think that like the managerial side picked the right fights at the right time for him.
What I was getting at is Johnny needs to go away with it. But if Johnny does want to exercise a rematch against Dave Allen, because I'm not just saying this, I'm not saying he'd beat Dave Allen, but the Johnny Fisher I knew can be a downside more competitive against Dave Allen if he fights the way he fights. Not saying he would come out on top, but he'd do that. But if Johnny Fisher wants a rematch in 4 fights' time, Dave has an obligation to give it him, because Johnny Fisher, effectively, the team handpicked Dave Allen for that fight and gave him an opportunity. And now Dave Allen's on a great run, and good luck to him because he's a good man.
Hold on, they handpicked Dave Allen because they thought they could win.
Absolutely.
They didn't give Dave Allen an opportunity. Dave Allen was a decent name on the resume that had been in with big fighters.
Absolutely.
And they came up short. Let's talk about equally as importantly, in fact more importantly, because he's the victor in this fight, Dave Allen. I mean, I thought that Dave was so self-effacing when he came in the studio last week and talked about needing to redeem himself after the fact that he felt he'd swallowed the fight against Fraser Clark. Jamie Moore came in straight afterwards and went, you know, he does it to himself all the time, this kid. He didn't swallow it. I took him out of that particular fight because it was my job to do that as a trainer.
Yeah.
And then you listen to him after the fight. I thought it was such a wonderful... We've had him on the show this morning with Jim White talking about... He's doing the interview from his bed, talking about how many chocolates he's eaten and how much he's having great fun at home, but he wants to get onto his next level because he needs to make some more money because his missus is the money person in the house. But he also talked about, what does winning the British title mean? It means I can get an ensuite bathroom for my kids.
Yeah.
You know, and then he goes to the camera and goes, and by the way, Betty and George, go to bed. I mean, there's something about Dave Allen that just makes you want him to do well.
He's very humble.
What is for him next now?
Absolutely. He's very humble. You know, you want to gravitate towards him. When you know his story, his background, you know, mental health has been a big part of his life, you know, and not taking boxing seriously in many ways. And he's taken the opportunity. He's teamed up with Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis, and I thought they've done brilliantly with him. Yeah. He's got himself in condition, and he has got talent. And I think that, you know, that victory... Look, he's a realist. He says, look, British title level, if I can win a British title, that's where I see myself at right now.
But he's also saying this morning that he is beginning to subscribe to the view. Jamie Moore is telling him, you are better than you think you are.
Is.
Right? Did I hear this right, that you think he should go in against Deontay Wilder and would beat him?
No, I think they were asking the question because now the headline's going to be he could be. No, I think this version of the current version of Deontay Wilder, of course, he has a chance of beating him. But with Dave Allen is so much better than what people actually think is. His ring IQ is really good. Dave Allen's a good fighter. He's just never applied himself, and he won't mind me saying this because I know Dave really well. Yeah. He don't apply himself, but Jamie and Nigel have installed this. Listen, mate, you are a good fighter. You are, like, in the camps. Listen, as I say, Jamie Moore was telling me, I wasn't actually watching Dave spar, but everyone was telling me, like, Sam, if Jack Catchell, he can give a good... It's like, Sam, Dave's firing all cylinders here.
I think Dave's biggest problem is that he's never believed in himself. And that self-belief is a huge thing for fighters.
I think
Jamie's installing that.
Them two guys, Jamie and Nigel, have instilled a belief into Dave Allen that's now coming out to it. And I hope Dave goes on to have a great run now because he deserves it. He's a good man.
The mention was, and again, I use the example of what he said, which is what it gives him the opportunity to do. And I think it gives him more than an opportunity to put an ensuite bathroom in, quite frankly. But to fight for the British title. Yeah. And that's something that's resident in the rematch situation with David Adelaide and Jamie TKV.
Yeah.
How do you see Dave going against the winner of that particular fight? I'm going to go again with Adelaide, albeit that will probably rankle with other people, but notwithstanding that, I'm going to make that observation again.
He's been more active.
But how would you put, if it were David Adelaide, and I don't want to discount Jamie TKV, but if it were Adelaide, how would you expect Dave Allen to go in that particular fight?
Well, this is how I'd put it. It would be a great opportunity for him against David Adelaide. When you're talking about different fighters and owning British titles, you go, look, you know, he's got a real shot at David Adelaide. Adelaide didn't look great against Jamie TKV. The winner of that fight, you know, you put him in there and you go, it's an interesting fight. Yeah. He would start the underdog, but it's an interesting fight. And like I say, you know, like speaking to Jamie off the record as well, and he's talking about, you know, the first proper training camp he's had here, Dave Allen. And he said the mindset has been right going into this fight and that self-belief and all of that. He goes, if we've got another 12 weeks to work and another 12 weeks, he's 43 years of age, he's only going to be better. Him versus David Adelaide is a great fight.
I think so too. I mean, you're not going to get all the sparks and jeopardy because he's such a nice guy, but maybe David Adelaide will get him going. We'll see, but that's a great British fight.